Hello, everybody. Welcome to NeoUnrealist. Wow. National emergency. How's that? How are you guys faring out there in the national emergency? Hey, Tricky Woo. Stephanie Hughes, I see you. Don't think you were quite first. Eric Hansen. Thanks, T-Heat. Say thank you to your wife. 140,000 total confirmed cases today and 5,000 deaths. We crossed 5,000 sometime earlier today. So just imagine that. We're really cooking now. Unbelievable. But if you look at the cases, I think what a lot of people have been doing when they calculate the death rates is that they take the total deaths and they divide it by the total confirmed cases, which seems a little bit silly to me. I mean, you're counting cases that haven't even resolved yet. It almost seems like it should just be total deaths divided by, resolved cases, which is like deaths plus recovered, which would basically give you about 5,000 and change in about 75,000. But hey, what are you gonna do? Mostly going to focus today on the United States. I got some international coronavirus stuff, but just because Trump had, I guess some people are calling it his make-up news conference, where he, I believe he invoked the Stafford Act, which is actually very important because I don't think it's been invoked on a national scale before. I think it passed in 1988, and no one really... apart from a few regional declarations, has never done what Trump has done. Just said, shit hit the fan, I'm pressing the button. So he declared the Wuhan coronavirus a national emergency. And let's see what the AP had to say about it. We'll just go into it real quick. President Donald Trump on Friday declared the coronavirus pandemic a national emergency, as Washington struggles with providing Americans with relief and officials race to slow the spread of the outbreak. Speaking from the Rose Garden, Trump said, "I am officially declaring a national emergency." He said it would free up as much as $50 billion. Where's that money? I believe they actually have it. It's like a rainy day fund, so they do have a stash set away for that. For state and local governments to respond to the outbreak. Trump also waived interest on federally held student loans and moved to prop up energy markets. The price of oil, I don't know if you guys have been following. I don't know where the close was today, but last time I checked, it was like around $30 a barrel. I mean, it's been a couple of decades, I think, since we've seen the price of oil that low. Remember when oil was like $200 a barrel? Uh, back early in the Obama administration? It seems like a distant memory. But I think unrelated to this, Trump also he's going to take advantage of the low price of oil by he signed an executive order ordering them to fill the strategic petroleum reserve. So pick a better time now though, with oil at $30 a barrel. That's very cheap. So he directed the Department of Energy to top up the strategic petroleum reserve right up to the top. In his words, Trump said he was giving Secretary of Health and Human Services Alex Azar emergency authorities to waive federal regulations and laws to give doctors and hospitals, quote, flexibility in treating patients. Through a very collective action and shared sacrifice, national determination, we will overcome the threat of the virus. So very patriotic language there. And he also announced that this, to me, was the most important part of his press conference. It's something he should have probably highlighted earlier. He also announced a new public-private partnership to expand coronavirus testing capabilities, as his administration has come under fire for being too slow in making the test available. Trump said, "I don't take responsibility at all for the slow rollout of testing. My opinion, he should have just taken responsibility. Clearly, you're the captain of the ship. Whatever happens on it, fairly or unfairly, the buck stops at your desk." The partnership will include drive-through testing at some locations and an online portal to screen those seeking to get tested. Still, Trump said that officials don't want people taking the test unless they have certain symptoms. Yeah, the tests, I mean, given that they're a limited resource, you don't want people just rushing just for the hell of it getting tested, obviously. That's a waste of time, personnel, and resources. So, as he said, we don't want people without symptoms to go and do that test, adding it's totally unnecessary. Trump said that the White House and Congress have yet to agree on a broader aid package, claiming that he doesn't believe House Democrats are giving enough. Lawmakers are preparing to vote on their own measure Friday. Yeah, there's some political maneuvering going on with this bill. I think this is the bill where Nancy Pelosi tried to stick in an extra $1 billion towards abortion funding, which, what does abortion have to do with coronavirus? I hate when Congress people in Congress do that, where they attach completely unrelated nonsense to especially emergency bills that have to pass. But anyway, the House Democratic leader, this is Pelosi, she spoke from the speaker's balcony at the Capitol ahead of Trump's news conference at the White House as the power centers of Washington were shuttered to visitors. So yeah, the Capitol is now closed to the public. And let's see, here we go. New cases of virus climbing. As you can see, the cases outside of China are now, if you believe the Chinese numbers, are outstripping new cases in China, which according to China are decreasing. But let me show you guys the graph. So here we got, this is where the crossover occurred. Looks like it was on February 26th. That was the night of one of the Democrat debates. And the outside China line, as you can see, it's taken off. A lot of that from Italy, Iran, places like that. And China's gone in the opposite direction. But so the whole thing that interested me today was Trump actually using the Stafford Act, which, like as I said, I don't remember it being used before, not on this scale. And actually, we can go into the Stafford Act itself. Here's a link to it. And the relevant section is, I believe, 701. Let me enlarge that for you guys. Yeah, that's the FEMA. Stafford Act, as amended and related authorities. Go to the source. Go to the section, table of contents. Section miscellaneous, 701, rules and regulations, page 86. Add like 5 or 6 pages for the table of contents and stuff. Oh, we're almost there. All right, section 701, rules and regulations. This, if you really think about it, gives the president, at least in regards to the coronavirus, pardon me, the Wuhan coronavirus, it gives him pretty much near dictatorial power. I mean, it's pretty insane when you read it. The president may prescribe such rules and regulations as may be necessary and proper. That's wide open to interpretation. Necessary and proper to carry out any of the provisions of this act, and he may exercise any power or authority conferred on him by any section of this act, either directly or through such federal agency or agencies as he may designate. And basically gives him a lot of power to just shift around money as he deems fit to the states. Let me read on here. This would be Section 701B. In furtherance of the purposes of this act, the president or his delegate, so he can even delegate this power, may accept and use bequests, gifts, or donations of service, money or property, real, personal, or mixed, tangible or intangible. All sums received under this subsection shall be deposited in a separate fund on the books of the Treasury and shall be available for expenditure upon the certification of the president or his delegate. At the request of the president or his delegate, the Secretary of the Treasury may invest and reinvest excess monies into funds. This is like a slush fund. Such investments shall be in public debt securities with maturity suitable for the needs of the fund and shall bear interest at rates determined by so they can issue debt in addition because of this emergency declaration. So that's usually you have to go to Congress for money. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on it. I just thought it was interesting that people may not realize by invoking these powers just how much power Trump has right now to direct the money that Congress has given him. And what have they given him so far? $8 billion, and looks like they're going to give more now. But yeah, so Dr. Fauci, I don't know if you've caught what he's been saying the past day or so. He's really letting us have it between the eyes. He says that a complete U.S. shutdown is on the table. Doesn't mean they're going to pull it off, but it sounds like they've been talking about it and preparing for that contingency. And he warned that the crisis could last 2 months. Now, he said today that the crisis will last for at least a few more weeks and possibly up to 2 months. He predicts that the peak will probably come sometime in April or May. And he said there is no doubt we have not peaked yet in terms of severity and that it would get worse. Fauci said that he was not sure if the U.S. would reach full shutdown mode, but it's not off the table. There are more than 1,700 people in the U.S. In my opinion, clearly there's a lot more. We've had a short of tests, with 42 dead that we know of. And it looks like the other day, in testimony in front of Congress, somebody at the CDC revealed that they'd gone back and they'd found some people that had been listed as having died of regular influenza. But they went back and tested them, and it turns out they actually died of the Wuhan coronavirus. So they had to add in a few extra deaths that they found after the fact. But Fauci promised that testing was going to become more available. Basically, it sounds like to me the big bottleneck wasn't actually the materials. It's the fact that the laboratories, the CDC had these arcane rules that they were pretty much designed for just regular times where they would do all the testing. It was very centralized. If you had to do like a test for Ebola, you had to send it into the CDC, which is fine. But with this virus, you can't have that, because if you're going to do 10, 20, 30, 50,000 tests a day, obviously the CDC can't handle that kind of volume. So what happens is, if you want to do testing, you have to be legally certified for the CDC to perform that test, and that process takes weeks, or in some cases months, and we cannot operate at that speed. And it looks like, for whatever reason, the bureaucrats just clung to this, their bureaucratic rules and regulations. I know you can't just ignore the law. I mean, that the law is the law. But you would think that maybe they could have, cut through some red tape, because it's crazy that doctors in places like Washington, if they felt they needed to test people, like definitely at that Kirkland, was it Life Care Center, where the employees who are showing symptoms haven't even been tested yet. That's crazy. But anyway, so this Fauci guy, it looks like he's the person that everybody on both sides of the political aisle seem to be trusting. I mean, really, do we really have a choice? I mean, the guy, to me, he doesn't look political. He's been there through Republican and Democrat administrations. Both sides have praised him before. No one has any reason to doubt that he'd be some political hack, and he seems to give it to the public straight when he talks. But anyway, they talked about also Trump's travel ban on Europe. It appears to me like they're looking very seriously at extending that also to the UK. And because the UK had a significant jump in cases today. The UK, if you haven't been following, they appear to me to be where Italy was about a week and a half ago, right before things really exploded for Italy. Incoming super chat, Di Mario, or Di Mario, for toilet paper, yeah. Went today, toilet paper aisle cleared out. Got to buy toilet paper out of the back of a trunk, black market style, I guess. Anyway, so like I was saying about Trump and his experts, Azar and Fauci, it sounds to me like they're seriously talking about extending the travel ban to the UK, and it makes sense, because if you're going to have people in Europe, while it's not as easy to go, it's easy to go from, say, France to like the Netherlands. There's no border checks. While there's now a little bit of a hassle, you can still get into England and the UK from Europe. You just drive through if you really want to go, they're not going to stop you. So it makes no sense to exclude the UK if they're having that many cases anyway. But we'll see with that. But if you look at the Drudge Report today, wow, this is a scary picture. This is President Bolsonaro. He's the president of Brazil. Obviously, some people call him the Brazilian Trump. Trump and him seem to get along. They both ran on anti-globalist platforms. They're both populist leaders, and he came to visit Trump over the weekend. And one of his, I don't know if the guy's in his cabinet, but he's clearly one of Bolsonaro's close advisors. He tested positive for the coronavirus. They had to send him home. Bolsonaro himself, in the last 24 hours, has tested both positive and negative for the coronavirus, the Wuhan coronavirus. And here's Trump. I mean, he was in close contact with this guy for at least 2 hours. And, whoa, that's not good. Cringe. Here's the guy. Yeah, this is the guy that tested positive. Vice President Pence, President Trump, and Fabio Weingarten, the communications secretary for Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro. 3 men posed for a photo on Saturday at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida. So this guy, he felt symptoms. They had to send him home. He's definitely got the Wuhan coronavirus. Bolsonaro, he did test positive. They did a second test. He tested negative, but you can see there Trump was definitely in close contact with him. But the other guy, the mayor of Miami, he was at an event with Bolsonaro and his staff, and now the mayor of Miami has tested positive for COVID-19. Let's see what that's all about.
Residents and employees, I was informed that I have tested positive for COVID-19. I feel completely healthy and strong. However, I am doing the responsible thing by working with the county's health department to take every precaution to ensure that not only my family is healthy, but everyone I have come into contact with is healthy as well. If we did not shake hands or you did not come into contact with me while I coughed or sneezed, there is no action you need to take whatsoever. If we did, however, touch or shake hands, or if I sneezed or coughed near you since Monday, it is recommended that you self-isolate
Wow.
for 14 days, but you do not
If I
need to
coughed
get
or
tested.
sneezed near you.
After speaking with medical professionals, I will continue to follow Department of Health protocol and remain isolated while I lead our government remotely. The city will continue to function as usual under our comprehensive preparedness plan to ensure operational continuity. If you suspect you have been in contact with anyone who is sick or exhibiting any symptom like fever, cough, or shortness of breath, please call the County Department of Health. Our residents' health and wellness continues to be my absolute priority. For additional guidelines,
It sounds like he's giving the standard boilerplate stuff. Let's look at his situation. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez has tested positive for COVID-19, the disease caused by the novel coronavirus, 4 days after the mayor attended a Miami event with a Brazilian government official who later tested positive for the virus. It sounds to me Trump better get himself tested because everybody who seems to be coming in contact with that guy looks like they're testing positive, and it's only been like 4 days. The announcement rippled through the top levels of Miami's municipal government, forcing city commissioners and top administrators into self-quarantine and sparking increased concerns over the spread of the virus in Miami. It sounds like the whole top of the Miami municipal government has been quarantined now. Suarez, 42, was one of several politicians, including Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Jimenez, Senator Rick Scott, and President Donald Trump, who interacted with Brazilian President Bolsonaro and his staff during a visit to South Florida last week. Fabio Weingarten, press secretary to Bolsonaro, tested positive on Thursday after returning to Brazil. The mayor went into isolation Thursday after learning that Weingarten tested positive. Suarez was in the same room as Weingarten and Bolsonaro on 2 occasions Monday during the Brazilian delegation's visit. So yeah, that's not looking good. What's the Chief Jorge Colina? What's he saying?
I just wanted to share this message with our residents. As you probably already know, our Mayor Francis Suarez has tested positive for COVID-19. He feels fine. In an abundance of caution, I'm going to be self-isolating because I've had a lot of contact with the mayor.
Chief of police?
I just want to assure our residents that you are safe. Our police department is robust. We have plenty of officers to respond to calls for service. My deputy chief will be in physical control of the police department while I self-isolate. I will be providing direction from home until I am told that it's okay to.
So the Miami city government is basically operating on cruise control. Unbelievable. I brought this up. This is an article in the New York Times that came out. What was the date of this? February 25th. I want you guys to remember where it was. February 25th was just. This is the 13th. It was it's leap year, so you got an added date of February. So 4 days, 17 days, about 2.5 weeks. That was the first time a question was asked at a Democrat debate having anything to do with coronavirus. And it was a little over 2 hours. They didn't ask this question until an hour and a half into it. 83 minutes elapsed in the Democrat debate before they finally threw a throwaway question. They asked about soda bans first. So that shows you they were more concerned 2.5 weeks ago about banning soda than coronavirus. And I brought this up in a video yesterday. Sagar and Jetty, I don't know if you guys watch his podcast that he does with Crystal Ball. He had this tweet out on a February 1st, so that's like 41 days ago, I think. This is exactly right. There is a bizarre PC attempt across media right now to minimize coronavirus and implicitly agitate against travel bans, quarantines, and other effective action. Anyone spreading such views should be treated with the same contempt and ridicule as anti-vaxxers. So the people that are screaming today about why hasn't Trump done this and why haven't the GOP done that, a few weeks ago, as just a short time ago, these are the same people that were writing articles like this. We should de-escalate the war on the coronavirus. Fear, finger-pointing, and militaristic action against the virus are unproductive. We may be better off adjusting to a new normal of periodic outbreaks. So just, in February, they're saying, why we shouldn't do anything. We should just get used to this. I mean, who's this guy? Robert Dingwall. Oh yeah, what a genius. Let's just forget it. Militaristic response. Eat the bat soup. He was more worried about people making fun of Chinese dietary practices, Chinese eating culture than fighting the disease. But now we're having arguments over it's racist to call it the Wuhan or the Chinese coronavirus. These people have very short memories because, the media research TV people, they put together a compilation of all the times that the same people today who are saying it's racist to call it the Wuhan coronavirus were calling or Chinese coronavirus were calling it just that not too long ago.
This is all happening at a time that we're starting to see a message shift here because you're starting to hear the Republicans, especially Trump calling it the Wuhan or the Chinese coronavirus.
Okay,
they're looking for someone to blame.
Concern is growing this morning over an outbreak of a new SARS-like virus in China. At least 6 people have died from the Wuhan coronavirus. The Wuhan coronavirus. The Wuhan coronavirus.
The 34-year-old ophthalmologist diagnosed Saturday with the Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus. What more can you tell us about the similarities or differences between SARS and the Wuhan coronavirus?
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus in China.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus. And the Wuhan coronavirus.
Wuhan coronavirus.
Fears continue to grow over the outbreak of the Wuhan coronavirus.
Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus. The Wuhan coronavirus. We have new information about how the Wuhan coronavirus is spread.
Tying coronavirus to China and Chinese people isn't just a racist dog whistle. It's a whole racist orchestra. It's a mighty, mighty racist bass tone.
I hear Stephen Miller in this foreign virus setting up travel bans for the outside invasion of the disease. That's not the way
Chinese coronavirus that they've been
that's
calling
not
the first U.S. case of Chinese coronavirus.
The Chinese coronavirus.
This is coming as the Chinese coronavirus.
China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus.
Outbreak anxiety. The death toll nearly doubles in China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus.
Just how bad is China's coronavirus crisis?
China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus.
China's coronavirus. China's coronavirus.
China's coronavirus.
Concerns about the China coronavirus.
It's going to come across to a lot of Americans as smacking of xenophobia, to use that kind of term.
Great montage. Let's put to bed this bullcrap that we don't name diseases where they come from. Let's look at this small sample. Let me make it bigger so it'll be easier for you guys to see. Marburg, right? Marburg disease, named after a town in Frankfurt, in Germany. Ebola virus, named for the Ebola River in Zaire. Hendra, a suburb of the city of Brisbane in Queensland. Nipah virus, named for a village in Negeri Sembilan in Malaysia. Then you got MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. I mean, need I go on? Lyme disease, named after the town of Lyme in Connecticut. I mean, these people are out of their minds. If you went through a list of just the coronaviruses, you should see it. There's like dozens, if not more, probably more than 100 strains of coronavirus. Most of them named from the place in China where they were discovered. So this nonsense, it's both in the scientific world and colloquially by what people know the disease as, common to name the disease after where it's been discovered. Exactly. Someone in the chat says German measles, the French pox, things like that. Spanish flu, yeah. This all of a sudden, it's suddenly become controversial when it's actually been more or less the standard practice, especially among people. Yeah, there's another one. Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever is another one. If you want to really stretch, you could go Montezuma's Revenge. You know, things like that. Legionnaire's disease, clearly named after the French Foreign Legion. So, I mean, these guys are out of their mind. If we actually followed this standard practice, and it's probably what's going to end up happening anyway, people are going to just end up calling this thing the Wuhan virus, because it's incorrect to call it coronavirus. There's hundreds of strains of coronavirus. The original SARS epidemic is a coronavirus. So you can't just call it coronavirus forever. You think 10 years from now, you say coronavirus, people are going to go, which one? So let's put that to bed right away. This here was a CDC report that basically says that they've concluded that containing the coronavirus is no longer feasible. Clearly, with what's going on in Italy, now it's spread into Spain, Germany, and France. They're right behind Italy, also the UK. Let's have a look at what the European CDC has to say. They're recommending suspension of mass gatherings, social distancing. I like how we call it social distancing. This is another word game. We just call it quarantines. That's. I guess they don't want to scare people. Everything is social distancing. You know, it's when you tell me social distancing, it just sounds like to me if you're trying to avoid somebody, you know, somebody that you don't like. Social, it's you're quarantining, you're isolating people. Social distancing measures at the workplaces, and measures in and closure of schools. So let's dig into this CDC document here. In the current situation where COVID-19 is rapidly spreading worldwide and a number of cases in Europe is rising with increasing pace in several affected areas, there is a need for immediate targeted action. The speed with which COVID-19 can cause nationally incapacitating epidemics once transmission within a community is established indicates that in a few weeks or even days, it is likely that similar situations to those seen in China and Italy may be seen in other EU, EEA countries, or the UK. There are no vaccines available, and there is little evidence on the effectiveness of potential therapeutic agents. In addition, there is presumably no pre-existing immunity in the population against the new coronavirus, and everyone in the population is assumed to be susceptible. Clinical presentations of COVID-19, here they go into the symptoms, you don't need to read that. The risk assessment. The risk of severe disease associated with COVID-19 infection for people in the EU, EEA, I believe that's the European Economic Area, and UK is currently considered moderate for the general population and high for older adults and individuals with chronic underlying conditions based on the probability of community transmission and the impact of the disease. Let's see if we can skip to the important part here. The EU, EEA, and the UK are quickly moving toward a scenario of sustained community transmission of COVID-19. The situation is evolving very quickly, and a rapid, proactive, and comprehensive approach is essential in order to delay transmission, as containing transmission to local epidemics is no longer considered feasible. They've given up on that. A rapid shift from a containment to a mitigation approach is required, as the rapid increase in cases that is anticipated in the coming days to few weeks may not provide decision makers in hospitals enough time to realize, accept, and adapt their response accordingly if not implemented ahead of time. Measures taken at this stage should ultimately aim at protecting the most vulnerable population groups. Basically what they're saying is that they are afraid that the hospitals are going to be overwhelmed like they have been in northern Italy, where stuff is getting crazy. Look at this Italian man. I gotta warn you, there's a dead body in what you're about to see. So if you have any kids in the room, it's not graphic or anything like that, but just letting you know beforehand in case that's a situation for you. So this poor man, the Italian actor Luca Francesi, this guy's pleading for help in this video, and he's basically talking about his deceased sister. Let's just read a little bit of the article before we play the video, because it's in Italian. It'd be hard to understand otherwise. An Italian actor who appeared in the TV drama Gomorrah has posted a heartbreaking video pleading for help as the body of his sister who died of the coronavirus is seen in the background. Luca Francesi, a mixed martial arts trainer, was trapped in his Naples home with the decaying body of Teresa Francesi, who died of the illness on Saturday. I'm waiting for the institutions to give me answers since last night. Nobody came forward, the grief-stricken man said Sunday in the emotional video posted on Facebook. This is a very strong video. Please don't show it to children and elderly people. I'm forced in all my pain to fight this situation. I have my sister here in bed, dead. I don't know what to do. I can't honor her as she deserves because institutions abandoned me, he said. I contacted everyone, but nobody was able to give me an answer, said Francesi, who's unable to find a funeral home that would bury his sister. Italy, where all 60 million inhabitants remain under lockdown, has confirmed 827 deaths from the coronavirus and identified more than 1,200 cases. The 47-year-old woman who suffered from a form of epilepsy but was otherwise in good health had developed symptoms of coronavirus just a few days before she died, according to Al Jazeera. At her brother's insistence, Teresa was tested for the virus after she died and confirmed to have been infected, the news outlet reported. Francesi said health officials refused to test him because they said they first had to know whether she was infected. I self-isolated myself. Today I could go anywhere to spread the virus if I have it because I gave my sister a mouth-to-mouth to keep her alive and no one cared. Guys, we are ruined. Italy abandoned us. Let's support each other. I beg you to spread this video everywhere. Make it go viral. This is my sister. Can you see her? She's in bed since yesterday. The video has been viewed almost 10 million times, prompted a local politician to intervene, and succeed in finding a funeral home for the family. All right, let's have a look at the video.
Io sono costretto con tutto il dolore a combattere questa situazione. Io ho mia sorella nel letto, morta. Non so cosa devo fare. Non posso darle l'onoranza che merita, perché le istituzioni mi hanno abbandonato. Ho contattato chiunque. Al momento non faccio nomi. Nessuno mi ha saputo dare una risposta. Sto in attesa della risposta del Cutugno dal 118, perché ieri sera, sotto mia forzata volontà, l'ho fatta fare il tampone, perché non lo volevano fare.
Yeah, so, sad story, but I guess the guy's sister died and no one would come bury her. He had to plead to the internet for somebody to come help him until they did. But I don't know if you guys saw this one. This was going on in Memphis. These people are you could tell we don't have it bad here yet because you could still have these kind of very silly kind of stories where these people in Memphis are just afraid for their kids. Someone at the school tested positive apparently, but some of the reactions of these parents and I guess guardians of the school, you might find them a little amusing. I think this lady is let's say she's based.
They want to take that virus to their house.
Parents with children at Treadwell Middle and elementary schools are
nobody want their child to be sick, and don't nobody want to take that virus to their house.
Parents with children at Treadwell Middle and elementary schools are not playing around. Many wiped their kids down, and some even sprayed them with disinfectant spray as they took them home Monday.
I wiped my children's backpack down when I got them out of school. Sure did. Gave them gloves. Sure did.
Parents are doing this after they found out an employee who works at Treadwell Middle and elementary came in contact with a person who tested positive for the coronavirus in Memphis. Some took more extreme measures.
2 garbage bags. My shoes and came loose. 2 sacks. Another sack.
Leaders with the Shelby County Health Department say this is not necessary because it's a very low-risk situation for students. Still, family members tell me they don't want their kids in school.
It's messed up. The flu killing more folks than that is, so what's up? We're gonna die anyway.
She got her own hazmat suit. I guess they don't play in Memphis. What do you think of that? What do you think of the that hazmat suit? So this is something I discovered yesterday. Tests indicate coronavirus can survive in the air. So that's bad news. Now, I'm only mentioning this because rather than some university in China that you've never heard of, this is actually a National Institute of Health funded study. So it's funded by our government, and it involved places like what do you call it? Princeton, UCLA, and well, we can go into the study, who was involved with the study beyond that when we look at it, but let's look at the summary. Federally funded tests conducted by scientists from several major institutions indicated that the novel form of coronavirus behind a worldwide outbreak can survive in the air for several hours. A study awaiting peer review from scientists at Princeton University, the University of California, Los Angeles, and the National Institutes of Health, posted online Wednesday, indicated that the COVID-19 virus could remain viable in the air up to 3 hours post-aerosolization, this remaining alive on plastic and other surfaces for up to 3 days. Our results indicate that aerosol and fomite transmission of HCOV-19 is plausible, as the virus can remain viable in aerosols for multiple hours and on surfaces up to days, reads the study's abstract. The results suggest that humans could be infected by the disease simply carried through the air or on a solid surface, even if direct contact with an infected person does not occur. That finding, if accepted, would come in stark contrast to previous media reports that suggested the virus was not easily transmittable outside of direct human contact. That would be bad news. Imagine you get in a say a subway car or a bus or a taxi. Someone has been in there in the last 2 or 3 hours who has the disease. Well, they're not there. You get in. Guess what? You've got it. So that is not a good situation. Here's the study. I'm going to go and find out who was involved with this thing. Let's see. Here we go. The Laboratory of Virology, Division of Intramural Research, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, National Institute of Health, Hamilton, Montana. The Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology at Princeton University, Princeton, New Jersey. The Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology, University of California, Los Angeles. And the Division of Viral Diseases, National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So look at that. Even the CDC in Atlanta was involved with this study. And you have the Fogarty International Center, the National Institute of Health, Bethesda, Maryland. So those are some big names. I think we'll just go through the abstract. Even though it's only 13 pages here, we don't really only have to go through the abstract, I think. HCOV-19 SARS-2 has caused over 88,000 reported illnesses. Well, they're behind. It's more than 140,000. With a current case fatality ratio of roughly 2%. Here we investigate the stability of viable HCOV-19 on surfaces and in aerosols in comparison with SARS-CoV-1. Overall, stability is very similar between HCOV-19 and SARS-CoV-1. We found that viable virus could be detected in aerosols up to 3 hours post-aerosolization, up to 4 hours on copper, up to 24 hours on cardboard, and up to 2 to 3 days on plastic and stainless steel. HCOV-19 and SARS-CoV-1 exhibited similar half-lives in aerosols, with median estimates around 2.7 hours. Half-life means that every 2.7 hours, about half of the virus will just not be there or die off, not be viable. So if you had, say, we'll make it simple, we'll just make it up, say 10 units of virus, in about 2.7 hours, you'll have 5 units of virus. In 2.7 more hours, you'll have just 2.5 units of virus. So like that, it'll slowly decrease. So that means technically you could have virus even beyond 3 hours. But yeah, that's the half-life. Both viruses show relatively long viability on stainless steel and polypropylene compared to copper or cardboard. The median half-life estimate for HCOV-19 is around 13 hours on steel, 16 hours on polypropylene. Our results indicate that aerosol and fomite transmission of HCOV-19 is plausible, as the virus can remain viable in aerosols for multiple hours and on surfaces up to days. So I guess when people joke around and call it airborne AIDS, it may not be a joke. This study has yet to be peer-reviewed, but I mean, I see no reason to doubt it. It's not given by it's not some random Chinese university that no one knows about, or at least no one on this side. And I don't know. It just looks to me like we have a lot of misinformation going around, because just today I saw a press conference with the mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, and he's swearing up and down, he's waving a paper up in the air that it's not airborne. Well, I've got a piece of paper, I could wave this piece of paper here from the CDC, the National Institute of Health, UCLA, and Princeton that says otherwise. So which piece of paper am I supposed to believe? I don't know. You tell me. This one I have a harder time believing. I'm pretty sure you have this Ohio health official estimates that 100,000 people in the state of Ohio have the Wuhan coronavirus. Well, I'm sure it's probably more than what they have on record. It'd be hard to believe that'd be more than 100,000 people. We have our global total is like 140,000. So it'd be hard to believe that just in Ohio they have more than 100,000 cases already. Well, let's jump into this and see why she believes that. I think she's just guessing. A top health official in Ohio estimated on Thursday that more than 100,000 people in the state have coronavirus, a shockingly high number that underscores the limited testing so far. Ohio Department of Health Director Amy Acton said at a press conference alongside Governor Mike DeWine that given that the virus is spreading in the community in Ohio, she estimates at least 1% of the population in the state has the virus. We know now, just the fact of community spread says that at least 1%, at the very least, 1% of our population is carrying this virus in Ohio today, Acton said. We have 11.7 million people, so the math is over 100,000. So that just gives you a sense of how this virus spreads and is spreading quickly. Well, I don't know how she comes up with that, because in South Korea, there was one woman, the infamous patient 31, who went to that cult in Daegu, the Shincheonji cult, and she infected, well, I don't know if she directly infected, but basically more like almost 1,000 people wound up being infected from that one woman, and she only went to like 4 services in like a week period. So one person could account for almost 1,000 in that case. So I don't think she has to, if she had said maybe 10,000 or something like that, but or even more reasonable, say like, okay, there's probably several thousand cases. 100,000, I think that's a bit of hyperbole. And she's not basing it on anything other than there's community transmission, so therefore it must be at least 1%. I'm not buying that one. Where they are having this problem, though, is definitely in Iran. I don't know if you guys saw this. This story came out Thursday, but I think it was out a little. It might have been as early as Wednesday, where Iran's coronavirus burial pits are so vast that they're visible from space. And here you got these people. They're burying a corpse there at the site. I've actually seen videos from this place. It's legit. And let me see if I could find a satellite photo that I found of it. Yeah, here's let me just open up the image. These are the burial pits. Each of these things, is about the length of a football field. And these here are the bodies. They're all lined up. They put them in. They wrap them up in these white bags or sheets or whatever, and they just line them up row after row after row after row, and they just leave the pit open until they fill it, and then they bury them. I mean, look at this. This is crazy. Just row after row. Iran is like a dark hole. We get no information. We don't get any accurate information out of that place. But I think, let's see if I could find it, because I've shown the video. Here's a video of one of the burials. They just take the body out. You can see the guy in the hazmat suits. They came from the field. This is the coronavirus burial pit. Garbage can where you're supposed to throw your gloves and stuff.
بیش از 80 نفر تا الان تو این قطعه خاک کردن. میگن 34 نفر کشته. این ردیف کرونا.
There's the rose. I guess that white stuff, that's the stuff that they throw on the body for the smell. Here.
اینجا بهشت محسوب است. من نمیدونم خاک نشسته که نیم متر بی‌تر نیست. این قبر سنگ لحد هم هست.
It's pretty bad in Iran. I mean, even Ayatollah, one of his top advisors now, tested positive. So it's getting pretty close to Ayatollah. Somebody put a grave marker on that one. Yeah, somebody put like a headstone on that one. Pretty wild. Found this. People were trying to, I guess, bash Trump, and I guess you could criticize the current administration for things if you really want to, but it's amazing how people get a sense of amnesia. Because they forget we had this thing called swine flu during the Obama administration, and the way the media reacted and the Democrats, it seems vastly different. You know, you say swine flu and it comes in and out of your memory, but looks like incoming super chat 2A. Don't know about Iran, but in China, few wash their hands. Westerners carry soap with them as toilets often have none. Basic cleanliness helps. I don't never thought of the Iranian as a particularly unhygienic people, but could be something to that. So this thing with the swine flu, people don't realize 61 million people got infected with swine flu back in 2009 and into early 2010. And according to this, it claimed, I've seen different numbers. Some people say 12,000, some people say 14,000. According to this CDC study, it says 18,000 dead. People are going after Trump, and there's like 42 people dead in the United States at last count that I saw. Under Obama, somewhere between 12 to 18,000 people died in a period of a few months, and it was like a footnote. It wasn't even a story. You know, this according to this, look, I'll enlarge it so it'll be easier for you to see. The swine flu was a serious enough outbreak for President Obama to declare a public health emergency in late April 2009. The World Health Organization declared it a pandemic in early July, at which time 18,000 Americans had contracted the novel flu virus and 44 had died. And unlike coronavirus, the swine flu was more deadly to younger people. Obama declared a national emergency when the virus reemerged with a vengeance in the fall. Yet the press barely covered any of these events. When the World Health Organization declared the swine flu unstoppable on June 11, 2009, CNN didn't even lead with that story on its homepage. It was in a pile of links on the side of the page. See the screenshot of that day's homepage below, taken from the Internet Archive. A week later, there was no mention of the swine flu anywhere on CNN's homepage. There it is. It was basically just a side link on the CNN page. Swine flu not stoppable, World Health Organization says. You know, but in other news, spokesman Chastity Bono is changing gender. I guess that was the more important story. Unbelievable. The World Health Organization's announcement rated only a photo on the New York Times front page, with a story that was buried on page A11. When Obama declared a national emergency, CNN didn't get around to mentioning the death toll of the disease until the 10th paragraph. By that point, millions had been infected and 1,000 people in the U.S. had died. The day after Obama's declaration, CNN carried only a single link to the swine flu story in its News Pulse section. It ranked below the headline, "Wayward Flight's co-pilot denies arguing." The Times story about Obama's declaration didn't mention the death toll in the U.S. until the 4th paragraph. 2 days later, the swine flu was off the Times front page again. This is unreal. So here's a disease that infected 61 million Americans and killed, pick your number, between 12 and 18,000 of them, and it wasn't even mentioned barely. It was stories about was it Chastity Bono going transgender? I guess outranked the story on CNN. But let's just go quickly through BNO News. See if anything new happened here. Trump declares Sunday a national day of prayer amid coronavirus. Blah, blah. Countries reporting their first cases today. Uruguay, Venezuela. Uh-oh. They were already out of toilet paper before the coronavirus outbreak, so they're really screwed. Guatemala, Kenya, Sudan, and Ethiopia. Yeah, that could get rough. Dow closes almost 2,000 points higher. Yeah, the market really seemed to like that press conference, because by the end of it, it really shot up towards the end. Up 2,000 is huge. Okay, they have Trump declaring a national emergency, press conference, blah, blah, blah. Poland closes their borders. Based Poland suspends international commercial flights. Poland is closed, people. Denmark temporarily closes borders to foreigners. It's like the Wuhan coronavirus is making people have nostalgia for borders and controlling who comes into your country. It's amazing. What do we have here? France reports 785 new cases. Oh, they're really cooking now. Governor Cuomo of New York reports 96 new cases in the state, 59 of them in New York City. Oh, rip me. Correction, this is the Los Angeles Unified School District, not LA County. Los Angeles County, the Unified School District in California announces closure of all schools. This is the second largest school district in the U.S. after New York City. Okay. Italy has also reported 181 new recoveries and 175 new cases in serious condition. 250 new deaths in Italy today. Holy. At the rate they're going, they're gonna start having days of 1,000 deaths a day in Italy. This is crazy. It was like 200 yesterday, 250 today. They're just dropping like flies over there. Iraqi Kurdistan puts Erbil and Suleimania on lockdown due to coronavirus. 48-hour curfew declared. Netherlands reports 4 sticks. Isn't he I think he's in the Netherlands now. 190 new cases of coronavirus and 5 new deaths, raising total to 804 cases and 10 dead. Breaking, Spain's health ministry says number of cases of coronavirus has risen to 4,209 with 120 dead, with 1,000 new cases and 53 new deaths since midnight. Yeah, they're cooking in Spain now. Let's check this lady here. She's her name's Jennifer Zhang. She's actually in New York, but she's Chinese, and she follows. If it's happening in China, she tweets it. I saw this story earlier. You know how they keep saying China's come back, China's all good now. Look at what they call good in China. They're still doing the jackboot stuff. Here's some cops, and they're addressing a assembly of business owners. They're gathered in Shenzhen, and this is like the Silicon Valley of China. It's where all the business happens. And they're demanding rent exemptions because, obviously China's been basically locked down for the last couple months. And the police are essentially shouting the orders of the Communist Party at them. And look what happens if you even dare question the police. This it's a bit long in the beginning, and they're speaking Chinese, but there are subtitles, so you'll be able to follow it. Look what happens if you talk back to the cops.
不允许人群聚集，不允许有人挑头，召集人群聚集。疫情期间啊，人群聚集容易传染，有可能会感染病毒，有可能造成扩散。如果发生这样严重的后果，我会追究法律责任。这是第一条，不允许召集；第二，不允许喊口号、打标语。如果我有发现谁挑头，如果有谁胆敢这个时候打标语、喊口号，你将会面临相应的法律处罚。你们可以录像，可以录音，可以找你们的房东去商谈如何减租。关于复工复产的问题，要按照政府的相关要求去进行申请，做好防疫措施。我相信你们做好防疫措施的前提是可以逐步复工的。关于这个租金问题租金问题可以去找房东谈，但是如果这种人群聚集
谈得了，我们会在这里，谁帮我们维权
There's the lady.
每个月10几万的租金，谁帮我们维权
军峰，把这个人给我拿下来。
Oh boy.
人呢？下来，谁了？喊下来，拿下来带走。
There she is. Take her away. She just asked a question. You normally don't see this in China. People fighting the police. They got social order over there. Let's see if she has anything else interesting. It looks like she was just following a lot of Trump stuff today. She's got something from a women's prison. I don't know what that's about. Recruiting prisoners to act as their internet commentators. After earning enough merits, prisoners can be released earlier. Okay. Anyway. Let's move on. I'll just touch briefly on the topic that I covered in my video yesterday. That's the situation with the Utah Jazz. Their center, Rudy Gobert. This is a guy who maybe you saw the video already, where he was. I'll just show it to you. This clown was on Monday. The NBA had locked the reporters out of the locker rooms over coronavirus fears, and this genius decided to mock the rules where the reporters had to stay a certain distance away from the players by touching their personal items, their microphones and stuff. Really smart. So yeah, it turns out a couple days later, old Rudy there tested positive for the coronavirus after he started feeling sick. And you probably saw where they canceled the game.
Players are going back to the locker room. Whoa. Whoa. Players are going back to the locker room.
So apparently what happened is they got the guy's test back right before tip-off. And the team doctor came running down to the court. And ran up to the officials and the coaches and told them, look, this guy, he's got the disease. You've got to stop the game. And they sent the teams back to the locker room. Here's the Dallas Mavericks owner, Mark Cuban. He was obviously he's watching the game for his team. My question on this is, he's the owner he's one of the owners, and it looks like this completely caught him by surprise.
And that's where the hiatus will start. You could see right here the reaction from Mark Cuban when he got the news, looking at his phone, and then he went and started to discuss it with members of the Mavericks organization on their bench.
He also alerted the officials that are in charge of this game.
I mean, you'd think the NBA would, give a heads up to one of the owners. He's one of the guys that decides. They have votes on these things. Looks like he didn't get a vote. They just did it.
So the officials are getting told.
Showing them
right
the
now.
phone. They're like, hey, shut it down.
Is he going to...
You tell me if you were in that building and you heard this announcement, if you would have been felt reassured.
Yeah, since the game tonight has been postponed, you are all safe.
You are all safe.
And take your time in leaving the arena tonight and do so in an orderly fashion. Thank you for coming out tonight. We are all safe.
We are all safe.
And you can visit OKCThunder.com for updates on...
Okay. We're all safe. Don't worry. The teams are running to the locker room. Don't be concerned about that. But yeah, it looks like today Rudy Gobert, he's already experiencing some social distancing. Look what the insiders, the people on the team told this reporter, Adrian Wojnarowski, Rudy Gobert. Yeah. Oh, Lord. They are so angry at him because his teammate, Donovan Mitchell, the guy who sits in the locker next to him, he's tested positive. He tested positive for the coronavirus. And apparently what this Gobert character was doing, what you saw him doing with the reporters, touching their microphones, their phones, their recording devices, it looks like he was doing that in the locker room too. He was touching the players. He was touching their personal items. and I think I said this in my video, I was like, I don't know about anybody else, but I've never been in a locker room where grown men, would tolerate some guy, walking around touching them and touching their stuff. just a thought. But yeah, apparently the reports are that the team is very mad at Rudy Gobert for acting like a dunce. Here they go. Jazz star Donovan Mitchell has tested positive for the coronavirus, league sources tell ESPN. Jazz players privately say that Rudy Gobert had been careless in the locker room, touching other players and their belongings. Now a Jazz teammate has tested positive. Yeah, that didn't turn out so well. But let's check out some non-corona related news before we go here. This one you're gonna get a kick out of. Andrew Gillum. Now, if you don't remember, Andrew Gillum is the guy that the Democrat Party, they ran against the Republicans in Florida to be the governor of Florida, and he got beat pretty bad. But he was found in a Miami Beach hotel room with suspected drugs. It was methamphetamine. Bags of meth were found, and they found Andrew Gillum in there with another man who had overdosed, presumably on the meth. And this man, it's come to people's attention that the man is a gay prostitute. So let's look into this. Let's look into this wild story. This guy is now a CNN contributor, so this is gonna get interesting now. Andrew Gillum, who in 2018 came within 34,000 votes of becoming Florida's governor, was discovered by police at a South Beach hotel early Friday morning in a room with bags of possible methamphetamine and in the company of a man who appeared to have overdosed on drugs, according to a Miami Beach police report. Police say they were called to Mondrian South Beach early Friday morning and found paramedics treating Travis Dyson, we'll get back to him in a minute, a 30-year-old Miami man for an apparent heart attack. 30-year-old man heart attack. Okay, now you know it's a drug overdose. They say two other men were in the room, Aldo Mejias and Gillum. Police say Gillum, who was not arrested, was too intoxicated to answer questions. He was so out of it, so messed up, he couldn't even speak. An offense incident report says that officers found 3 clear plastic baggies of suspected crystal meth on the bed and floor. Gillum, a former Tallahassee mayor and Democrat, issued a statement Friday afternoon in which he denied using drugs. I was in Miami last night for a wedding celebration when first responders were called to assist one of my friends, quote unquote. While I had too much to drink, I want to be clear that I have never used methamphetamines, he said. I apologize to the people of Florida for the distraction this has caused our movement. According to police, Mejias, the other guy in the room, remember he's the third guy, told officers that he gave his credit card information to Dyson to rent the room and planned to meet him Friday evening. When he went to the room after 11 p.m., Mejias said he found Dyson and Gillum under the influence of an unknown substance. So Mejias is told the cops he found both of them under the influence of an unknown substance. And Mejias is 56 years old. He said Dyson opened the door to room 1107 to let him in and then collapsed on the bed. He said Dyson was having trouble breathing, so he woke him up. Dyson then vomited and collapsed again, so Mejias said he performed chest compressions on Dyson and called paramedics. Mejias told police he saw Gillum, 40, vomit in the bathroom. Police say Dyson was taken to Mount Sinai Medical Center in stable condition. They returned to check on Gillum, who was allowed to return home without incident. No arrests were made. At this time, the incident is not being investigated as a criminal matter, a Miami Beach police spokesman wrote in an email releasing a copy of the report. He did not explain why. Gillum, who was the mayor of Tallahassee from 2014 to 2018, thanked Miami Beach paramedics. Let's look into this a little deeper, and you're gonna see what I think happened here. Andrew Gillum found in Miami hotel room with crystal meth. This is the National Review. They pretty much go over the same stuff, but what you gotta understand is when you look at who the guy is, this is his Instagram. It was T Dyson or TL Dyson. Since this happened, he put his Instagram page on private. But before he did, people figured out who this guy was, and here you go. Here's Dyson. You know, I'm getting a vibe off this guy. What do you think? Is anyone getting getting a vibe off the guy? Dyson said that he comes from humble beginnings. Dyson maintains at the male escort website Rent Men. On that page, Dyson goes by the moniker Brody Scott. Now, I went to the website Rent Men to find this guy's. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, gay porn stars and male performers. It's that kind of site, people. It's that kind of site. Now, I looked for Brody Scott. Apparently, you can't find him. It looks like he's hoovered that off the site. So, but that is the site, Rent Men. Yeah, it's kind of the service that you could imagine what you'd order there. So what I think happened is that this Mejia guy, the 50-year-old male who came in and found Dyson and gave him the CPR. It seems to me, could he have been his driver and bodyguard? Maybe Gillum. You know, he says he gave him, quote unquote, his credit card information to get the room. And when he came, he was probably checking up on him. You know, he's saying if the guy's there with a John, you know, seeing if everything's okay, because maybe he took too long in the room. So there's drugs involved. Mejia says when he went in the room that Gillum was throwing up in the toilet. You know, there's bags of meth around. They didn't say that in any of the reports that there was alcohol. I mean, to me, I think this guy was his bodyguard. You know, the guy that basically looks out for him, and he's the prostitute. Does it seem to me like Gillum really knows these guys? You think they're quote unquote friends? And then if you look down further, Dyson is engaged to be married. According to a post on Dyson's Facebook page, he's been in a relationship with a man named Louis Antonio Jr. since August 2018. A post on Dyson's Instagram page says that the couple are engaged. So this clearly is a situation where I think that I think the guy that was running for governor for the Democrats and is the CNN contributor, Mejia said he had been told about no wedding. If you're a reporter, you ask the guy, what wedding did you attend? That's not a state secret. Why would he have any reason to keep that secret? Who got married? Who was getting married in Miami? And why were you in a hotel room with a guy who's overdosing on meth if you're there to be at a wedding? I mean, it's just all fishy. A guy who's a male prostitute. I think there's just more to the story that we're getting here. What do you think? Anyway, this credit has to go. Apparently, Candace Owen broke this story. USA Today actually credited her with breaking the story. I don't know the situation. I haven't dug into how she found out about it, but kudos to her that she brought this to light. Let's see here. This one's just weird. I mean, there's not much to this story. Hundreds of hungry monkeys swarm across Thai street as rival gangs fight over food after tourists who normally feed them stay away because of coronavirus. What the hell is going on here? This is like Planet of the Apes. After Corona Chans killed us all off, I guess we'll have monkeys going through our abandoned cities, and this is what it will look like. Unreal. Really, what can you say about that one? There's nobody going to the nobody's flying to Thailand to do tourism right now. But yeah, while all this stuff, while we're focused on our Wuhan coronavirus problems, people might have missed this, where apparently some Iranian-backed militia launched rockets at an American base at the Taji. 2 American soldiers were killed, as well as a British soldier. And it looks like Trump ordered a retaliation yesterday, and we struck back at 5 Iranian-backed militia places where they store weapons and stuff like that. But it looks like, in addition to that, they also took out a high-ranking Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Not quite as high as Soleimani, the last guy that it took out, but a guy pretty high up in the IRGC. So it looks like Iran, they killed 2 U.S. soldiers, a British soldier. The British are actually pretty mad. They're sent some of their SAS guys on missions in Iraq to find the people who launched the rockets. But it looks like we took out an Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps commander. So keep an eye on Iraq while we're focused on here. Stuff's still going on in the world. Obviously, you got the situation over in with Turkey and Greece, which is pretty wild. I'm gonna have to dig in. I don't want to just do a throwaway here, but I'll just mention it because I think it deserves its own video or its own stream itself. That the deal in Turkey and Greece, it's almost like blackmail, where Turkey is demanding money and basically changes in European policy, and in order to get it, they're just gonna flood Greece with thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of refugees. And you got to understand something. People, they say this is from Syria, but you know, the Greeks are saying when they capture these people, it's like maybe 5% of the people are actually from Syria. The overwhelming majority of the people that they catch trying to come from Turkey to Greece are actually Afghans and Pakistanis. It's more than half. And you know, the rest of them come from places like Egypt or places in Africa. There's almost none of them are actually people, refugees from Syria that they're catching coming across, and they're overwhelmingly military age males. I mean, you don't see a lot of families. This is all planned. It's deliberate. It's Turkey just basically blackmailing, trying to blackmail Europe. Apparently they were promised $6 billion, so I don't want to say it's completely unreasonable for them to ask for some help to house all these refugees. But the Greeks aren't having it. I'm actually surprised that the Greeks have stood up. They've stood up this long, because apparently the woman that took over, there's a woman in charge of Greece now, and she's held up pretty good. So look for that. I'll probably try to do a video over the weekend on the situation with Greece and Turkey, because it's very interesting, and it could get very bad, because I don't see that resolving anytime soon. But last thing on this situation is, I don't know if you guys saw, this might have escaped your attention because they kept this off the radar. Ilhan Omar announced that she just got married to her quote-unquote political strategist, the guy Tim Minette, that she's denied that she was seeing. Suddenly, they're married. What a surprise. What a surprise. Got married from partners in politics to life partners. So blessed. Alhamdulillah. That's like, unbelievable. You have to remember, they denied that they were having an affair even. This wasn't too long ago. Remember, this story is from September 3rd. This is just a few months ago. No, we're not having an affair. There's no relationship. Now suddenly they're married. Understand something. This Tim Minette guy, she shoveled more than half of her campaign budget to this man. This is the most overt grift I've ever seen. Imagine, you know how you can't basically pay yourself you could take a salary from your campaign money while you're running for office. basically so you can pay your rent and stuff. But you can't take your half your campaign budget and just give it to your quote unquote husband or boyfriend. And this guy, let's look at the story. This is the story from September. Representative Ilhan Omar's alleged lover Tim Minette has denied bombshell allegations that he left his wife for the Somali-born representative, accusing wife Beth Minette in a counterclaim of waging a campaign to ruin his career after he left their unhappy marriage. Well, it turns out that was a lie. The DC political consultant, who has been working for Omar, denied accusations leveled by his physician wife in her divorce filing that he was having a love affair with Omar, and said he hadn't been in a relationship with any other woman during their 6-year marriage, according to the counterclaim filed in DC Superior Court. So he committed perjury. Clearly, here he is, they're married. Come on. Minette, 38, claims his wife, 55, pressured him into getting married in 2012 after the birth of their son William in 2006, and said the unhappy marriage broke down because of their different parenting styles. No, it broke down because he was seeing Ilhan Omar. Mr. Minette denies that he told Miss Minette he was leaving the marriage for Representative Ilhan Omar or that he was in love with her. That's what his wife said. His wife claimed that he just came out and told her, I'm in love with Ilhan Omar. I don't want to be with you anymore. Omar's campaign has paid Minette's E Street Group consulting firm $230,000, including $70,000 since April 2019, raising concerns of potential ethics violations. In her divorce filing, Beth Minette said her husband walked out after professing his love for the congresswoman and was unwilling to try to salvage their marriage. The parties physically separated on or about April 7, 2019, when defendant told plaintiff that he was romantically involved with and in love with another woman, Ilhan Omar. Now, I did a video on this story when it happened. And guess what? When Beth Minette says that they physically separated in April, that's basically the time that Ilhan Omar started paying this Tim Minette guy a crap ton of money. So it looks to me like she was basically, all her campaign money, most of it was going to this guy, and now she married him. So this is a fraud. If this was a Republican, not only would there be a House ethics investigation, there'd probably be a grand jury already open on this lady. I mean, and we haven't even talked about the brother marriage stuff, but I mean, just this alone, this happened while she's in Congress, while she's a congresswoman. How could this go by? Anyway, it's neither here nor there. I just wanted to bring it up. So this is another one that might be the subject of a potential future video if more information comes out. It'd be hard to do. It'd basically be a rehash of the old video. Okay, so all we know now is that that it was a lie when they denied they were having a relationship, because obviously now they're married. But stay tuned on that. I don't know. I think that's going to be all for today. We've covered a lot of area, most of the coronavirus stuff. I mean, you guys in chat, I don't know how interested you are in the Ilhan Omar situation, but I've done a few videos on that in the past, so it's like it's a recurring theme with this lady. There is no way a Republican would get away with what she's done. She's been accused of marrying her brother, defrauding the campaign finance now with this fake marriage to her boy toy that she's shoveling hundreds of thousands of dollars to. I mean, this is crazy. What is this now? This is sort of like her fourth marriage, technically. Her first marriage was to the father of her children. Her second marriage is to her brother, allegedly, I have to say. Then she married the father of her children again, and now she's divorced him. And remember, basically, he found out about this, her husband, when he walked in on Ilhan Omar, supposedly, and this guy in pajamas. Remember, Ilhan Omar is a devout Muslim woman. She has to wear that hijab on her head. No one but her husband or her close male members of her family can see her without that hijab. But here the husband walks in and finds her there in their pajamas when he they didn't know he was gonna come home. So that was probably a surprise to him. Poor Hersey. But we'll just leave it at that. So, what do you guys think? Ilhan Omar, is she gonna pay for this, or is it just gonna get swept under the rug? Yeah, I think the media they're just gonna ignore it. All right, guys. So that's all for this NeoUnrealist. Look, if you want to help the channel, do me a favor. You hit like for this video, this stream. You leave a comment below, definitely. You mash down at the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. You click on the notification bell beside it, though, because to get the notifications, you got to right click on the bell. You got to set it to the all setting, and then you got to go into your YouTube settings. Make sure that you enable notifications to be sent out. It's like a two-pronged process now. If you want to contribute directly to the channel, you want to toss your hard-earned dollars into the tip jar, you follow the links below to Patreon, Subscribe Star, or PayPal. Or if you watch this later, watch this after it mirrors to BitChute, you can just click on the green tip pledge button on the video player. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching.